It's no accident that sounds like you're leveling up in a video game. 48% of 18 to 29-year-olds have an online dating profile.
Make them work for it.
45% of people say they're more frustrated with this form of dating than hopeful.
There are so many people you can connect with.
Should I swipe right?
Swipe wrong. Swipe wrong. Setting the record straight on dating apps. Everyday people telling everyday stories of the swipe right world with your host, Chaos.
Well, I know he had a good time.
So depending on when you were listening, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. The number one podcast to binge in Garambara, Africa. That is I think there's 30 people populated in there, so that might be true, might not be true. I don't know. I'm not sure. There is a couple of listeners, as the map says, over there in Africa. Hope you're all doing outstanding, enjoying the holidays as they come through. Hopefully Santa brings you something outstanding, drop some presents, maybe a ho ho ho, maybe a no no no. I'm not sure, but whatever works for you. I hope you're on the naughty list and still got what you wanted. That's usually the funner way to go. So here we are, in between seasons. It's like Inception, a dream within a dream within a dream, because we're still putting out some new content, at least new to you guys that you haven't heard yet. So hopefully you're enjoying it. Just like we keep mentioning, keep liking, keep sharing, keep rating, keep subscribing if you haven't already. Go back, listen to some of your favorites. We're going to put a couple of them here in that we enjoyed. My favorite, and of course Grandmaster Jay's favorite, the production wizard that makes it all, makes me sound good. There's always somebody that makes you look good. He is the one that definitely makes me look good. There's no doubt about it. So hopefully you guys are enjoying everything that we're putting together. So take a listen. Tell us your story if you haven't already. We'd love to hear it. And we'll kind of go from there. This person on this episode is the craziest story from season one. This is a totally different story, but I think from season one he's got the craziest story that I've ever heard. And the crazy thing about it was when we originally talked, he's like my little brother, but we were kicking it at his house and he was telling me about his dating experiences. And then it had to be a good couple of weeks later where he was like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot to tell you about this one time. And I'm like, this one time at band camp? And he's like, yeah, you got to hear this one story. And then it became gone catfishing. And that's just bizarre and holy shit that I don't think you'll run into, hopefully, ever. But that was great. So if you haven't heard that one, go back and take a listen to Gone Catfishing, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. So here we go. Hopefully you enjoy this one. It's not too terribly long. So put your seat back, grab your popcorn, sit back, relax, enjoy. Don't hit that person next to you. And we'll go The Catfish meets the FemiNazi. And one more word, of course, from the quote-unquote legal department.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions or any entities they represent. This podcast is about dating experiences. It is not to say one dating app is better or worse than another.
All right, so I think the first question too is, like, why did you jump on the swipe rights?
Oh, dude, I've been on it forever. 10 years ago, when Tinder first came out, I was just graduated college, so I didn't really need it for any reason in college. But after college, I moved to Detroit, Michigan, and up there, I didn't know anybody, so I moved. I literally interviewed at Quicken Loans, and then 3 weeks later, I was in Detroit. It was like they wanted you to go quick. And so once I moved up there, I'm like, I didn't have any friends. I didn't know anybody. I was just working, 12 hours a day and going home. But on the weekends, I wanted something to do. And so I jumped on Tinder. And initially I was like, I'm just like, maybe these people are catfishes. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're real. Maybe they're fake. Who knows? But I swiped right on everybody. So I was like, if I have a good conversation, awesome. If I have drinks with people, awesome. If I get laid, even better. But that's why I did it, is because I was like, man, I don't have any other really means of making friends here other than going to a bar and chatting with strangers, which I did every once in a while, but I didn't like doing that. Yeah. So having an easy way to schedule a time, date, place to actually meet someone was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And I met a couple of good girls up there. And then I guess after I moved back down here, I moved for another girl and didn't really need it for a while, but I guess it was just always easy.
Yeah.
Ease of access would be my answer, I guess.
I think I guess if you think about it, like I have a big personality, so walking up to people isn't hard, but the reactions I get from people when I do that, it's really fucking weird. a lot of people are very uncomfortable with a face-to-face, like, cold meeting as opposed to talking a little bit in an app, and then a little bit, you feel a bit more comfortable when you talk. So that's it's an interesting dynamic, and it's a numbers game too, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, back when I was 25, like before I was dating, I think I was literally the poster child of a numbers game. I'd go on a date probably 3 or 4 nights a week with different people, just because I was like, well, I gotta weed out all the bad ones. That sounds horrible because no one's really bad or good or whatnot, but I wanted to find someone that would be not crazy like the one I told you about earlier,
right? With
the drugs and the stealing.
So tell that again, though.
Oh yeah. So I always like to start off the story by saying the quote that sticks out in my brain, which is, we were at Ale Emporium and she had recently met a friend that she hadn't seen in years, but it was like a recent, just like, oh, hey, what's up? And they start talking and joking and laughing. And next thing you know, like she gets shots, and I'm not really paying attention to the conversation, but what draws me back into it was that she said, no, you're the reason why I do drugs. My mom's the reason why I steal. And I was instantly back in that conversation, trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. And that chick was an ex-stripper working. I can't remember what she was doing. She might have been like a bartender at that time, but it was such a weird, crazy date that like the chick just kind of sat down and joined us. And I'm like, this might go really well, But she was like, do you have like a friend that could, come? So I brought my roommate with me, and then we both took them back and had some fun.
Was this a first date? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah, first time I ever met the chick, and she's talking about drugs and theft. Yeah. So I was like, that chick. That was back when I was probably 21, 22. So there was going to be no relationship there. It didn't last more than 10 minutes.
Yeah. That's usually that's funny. But at that point,
holy shit, that chick was nuts.
Yeah, but at that point, you had to be thinking, I got to see what she's like in bed.
Yeah. I mean, definitely had a lower back tattoo, tramp stamp action all day. And now she has tattoos on her face.
Yeah.
Blue hair. Like,
you Facebook friends with her?
No, I wish I was, so I could show you what she looked like. Yeah. I can't even remember her name.
How do you know she's got the... Or was that
I used to be Facebook friends with her.
Okay.
And I hooked up with one of her friends, too. I was a much worse person than I am today, back in the day.
Worse? You say worse. I don't know that I'd go worse.
But she had blue hair, her friend had pink hair, and she had like the tightest pussy I have ever had sex with. She's like, most guys can't last more than 5 minutes. And I'm like, I understand.
Yeah.
Like, I had never experienced that. And it was because she was so, all kinds of anxiety. So she would just tense up all the time.
I got you.
And I think that just helped her out downstairs.
Yeah. With the tramp stamp, she's having sex. So it's not that. But that's interesting.
Yeah, it was weird.
What about the FemiNazi?
The realtor chick?
I guess.
Oh, God, no.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about this girl since. So, worst online date ever of all time was probably that one. Or the one now, I'm pretty sure I kicked off Bumble because I kissed a chick.
You got kicked off Bumble because you kissed someone?
I think so.
I don't know how that works.
So I went on a 3-hour date, and normally, like, after a couple drinks, I'll talk your fucking head off. So I'm just like chatting with this chick. She was what was she? It was a tech at some kind of a medical company. But yeah, I thought it was going really well. The chick lived in Carmel, so we were at Sun King, and it's probably like a 10-minute walk for her to get home, but I offered to drive her back, and things were going well. So I kissed her, and this is during COVID, mind you.
Oh,
during COVID, dating was a little bit different.
Sure.
But I kissed her and she kissed and it was fine. And then she kind of looked weird and I was like, oh, sorry, you don't seem like you wanted that. And I apologize. She's like, no, it's fine. It's whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Well, have a good night. Didn't do anything other than that. She walked inside and I was like, cool. I went slept. And then I wake up to like a page of text that was basically like, I can't believe how irresponsible that was for you to kiss me on the mouth. She's like, during a pandemic, and I'm like thinking to myself, we were sharing drinks last night. Because I'm the kind of person that I like people to try shit when I'm having it. So beer, I'm like, oh, try this beer. We were talking about beer a little bit and she likes beer. So we were like swapping beers and I'm just thinking like, your saliva was in my beer and my saliva was in whatever,
Yeah.
But I was just like, all I responded with was like, hey, this is why some people work and some people don't because they're fucking crazy. And then maybe 2 days later, I was blocked on Bumble. Shit. And I'm just like, Jesus, whatever. Wow. But anyways, FemiNazi, worst online date of all time. This chick was very attractive. I mean, she had a butch cut, so not that attractive.
Right.
But perfect body. She works out all the time. I'm sure she had fake tits. Great ass. Very well put together.
What was your nickname for her? Didn't you had strange nicknames for some of these girls? Did you have a strange one for her?
I can't remember.
Because you had Horse Mom.
Yeah, Horse Mom because she had a horse farm.
Yeah.
There was Gen 1 and Gen 2 back in the day.
It's Thing 1 and Thing 2.
There was 2 gens and one came first.
That's usually how it goes.
There was the married chick. But my nicknames are very
I got you. So this one didn't have a nickname.
No, I only went on one date with her. This chick was fucking nuts. But we went to Sun King again.
Same Sun King. I used to like going there. It was a great place to go because there's multiple food options. It's always open, and friendly, and easy for where I used to live. So okay,
pretty good
place too. Really
yeah. I like it. Right on the Monon. Greenway's really nice. But, yeah, so we're hitting it off, we're talking, and I'm like, this chick's gonna fuck. I'm kind of getting excited because she's giving me hints and squeezing my shoulders and shit like that. And I'm very standoffish on a first date. I'll joke I typically would, but I won't touch a girl because I'm I don't know, back in my college fraternity days, it's just you never want to do the wrong thing with a woman.
Yeah.
But this time I did on accident. Because we continued drinking for probably 2 hours. I was probably drunk, but she wanted to go to 3 Up, the cocktail lounge. Okay. And I'm not going to say no, because I'm and she was making jokes about well, how far do you live from here? And I'm 25 minutes. And I'm I don't know if I want a cocktail before I'm driving after, 4 beers. She's well, it's not going to hurt you. She's saying it'll be worth it. And I'm I'm sure it is, because I was thinking we were totally going to have sex. And I don't remember what it was that actually set her off on down that feminist path of, I'm a horrible, horrible male. Because we agreed on everything. She was talking about that because it's very important. Her Black Lives Matter, women's rights, stuff like that. And I'm well, I always vote Democrat. I'm helping you guys out. And I remember her being cool with that until we got to 3 Up. She started quizzing me on things. I don't know why. It was people say you drink whiskey, you get angry or something. Okay. Maybe she had a whiskey cocktail and got angry. I don't know what it was, but she started wanting to argue. Cause I do say if I get drunk, sometimes I'll challenge people on things and I will get into fun for me arguments.
Sure.
But she's you said you like to argue. And I was well, yeah, but no one ever wants to argue about feminism, being a man, I'm just because I have a dick doesn't mean I want to bicker with you about feminist rights. Because she was saying, she went from basically being oh, you're a Democrat, awesome, to you haven't attended any rallies for women. And I'm no. And she's well, why not? And I'm because I didn't want to. And she's well, then how can you call yourself a feminist? And I'm well, I'm not a feminist. I just believe in women's rights. And by definition, that kind of makes me a feminist. And it just set her the fuck off.
Really?
She's you are not a feminist. You are just like every other man out there. She's you can't call yourself a feminist if you're not actively participating in global events that are going on in today's world. and just starts like kind of going down this dark path. And I'm just kind of like staring at my drink at this point. And I'm like, oh no. Because I did kind of like joke. I'm like, well, by definition, I'm a feminist, you know, like, because I believe in feminism and women's rights, you know. If you Google it, really, that's what a feminist is.
Right.
But she just started going down this dark path. And I'm like, you know, you're kind of like the crazy uncle right now at Thanksgiving. And that didn't help. And she started basically calling me a liar and saying that I don't really give a shit about women. And I'm just a really bad person. And I'm like, you know, we were about to have, like, I'm actually saying that, like, we were about to, like, go back to my place, have a great night. I think you'd be a lot of fun, you know, and now I don't want to do that. I just want you to stop. And also the wrong thing to say, because then she started yelling at me and making a scene to where I'm like looking at the bartender, because I'm like, I'm just gonna cash out, you know, like we'll just chalk this one up as a loss, is what I said. And she's like, you think you're gonna walk out on me? She's like, I don't get walked out on. And then she walked out herself. And the whole time I'm just thinking like, oh no, because I remembered this crazy bitch like swerving in front of me and parking in front of my truck. And it was her. And the reason why I thought of it after she left was that she had about, I think I counted 13 bumper stickers. Oh, no. So moral of the story, I guess, if you have 1 or 2 bumper stickers, maybe that's okay. But 13 that specifically talk about feminists and feminism, maybe bail.
Red flag?
Yeah, but I was so afraid she's going to go and key my truck. Oh, sure. That, like, I literally cashed out as fast as I could, because, I mean, she bolted out. Yeah. She's like, you think you're going to walk out on me? I don't get walked out on. And then just, like, angrily, like, almost, like, ran out. And I'm like, oh, God, what's she going to do? Because, like, I don't know if she knew it was my car or my truck behind her, but I think she did. And because, like, I didn't really, like, say anything when I first met her until she like turned around.
Was this a Sun King? This is the 3
up. So it's about maybe like a 5-10 minute walk north.
Oh, okay. So you walked there. You didn't drive there?
Walked there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I got you. I thought you drove from Sun King to 3 up, and then she knew for sure it was your car behind her. So.
No, I think she knew, but I wasn't positive, because I basically said something like because she was running late, and so I just hung out my truck. I think I was listening to like a podcast or something. But she got out of her car, and I'm like, that's a pretty good-looking girl, you know, because you never know when you see on Tinder shit. But I didn't even know it was her. But I'm like, short-haired chick, good-looking body, like that has to be her. Yeah. So like after I got out, I was like, hey, you know. Yeah. So I didn't know if she knew that was me waiting in the truck or not, but.
No, still enough to scare you.
Yeah, and then afterwards I basically texted her and said that, you know, this is the worst date in the world, but if I offended you in any way, I apologize. Because I was being a dick. Like, I was making fun of her for a while as she was, you know, trying to be an asshole about being a feminist. Right. And I kind of felt bad, I guess, because clearly she had a horrible night, and I did too. Yeah. And then, so I did text her saying, like, you know, if I offended you in any way, you know, I'm sorry. But like in reality, we were on the same page about everything. So I don't know why it got out of control like it did. And then she texted me like, it was like 3 days later. But it was the longest text message I think I've ever gotten in one text. It was the equivalent of like a whole page worth of type about how I was a chauvinist pig, how like, she's never going to go on dates with men anymore because they're all the same and all this stuff. And I remember replying back, like, I don't know who you're fighting with, but it's not me. Wow. You know, like it was the weirdest thing in the world.
She had something built up in there.
And man.
Became the fucking target.
Yeah. Essentially, that's what it was. I mean, her demons came out and she just pointed it right in my face.
Thank you for being along for the ride of the Swipe Wrong podcast, where we take everyday people like you and me telling their everyday stories of their swipe right life. Show is produced by Jay Pelham. He is the host of Pelham Place. If you want to reach out to the show and tell us your story, we'd love to hear it. Give us a call. Google Voice us at 317-426-6616. Leave your information and we'll get back to you, or just your story. You can also email us at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. We are on Insta, Facebook, TikTok. We're out there. I am Chaos, the host of Chaotic Commentary. You can find me pretty much anywhere that you see me. And next week, the saga continues.
Swipe wrong. Swipe wrong.